Alright, hi there. In relation to my Mac script that exports character models to Tomb Raider 6 The Angel of Darkness, there's some questions about like how textures were handled, how you add them into the game, how you get them and stuff. So I'll just touch on that specifically in this video here. So what you need to do first is run the tool. The latest update now runs the tool instead of the Utilities tab, so it's out of your way and you can fit it on your screen space better. So in the utility, in relation to the character models, we can import and export assets from a CHR file. So for textures, you can import them into the scene and it will write them to your hard disk. And then when you export them, it will find your assets in the scene and then write them back into a CHR file. So I'll demonstrate that, how that works. So in this folder here, I just copied an original character model from the game. This is Lara Croft's starting model, and we'll just simply open that. So just double click on that. And it's going to take like a few seconds. And it's going to write a folder here with the textures in them. The CHR format itself doesn't actually store any file names for the textures. So the textures just assume the input name of your CHR. So our CHR is called Lara D. It creates a folder of the same name. And then, of course, your textures are prefixed with that name. Okay. And so yeah, that's those textures get loaded into your scene and then applied to your model. Okay, that's how your assets are brought in from the CHR. So now when you want to write a new model and you have new assets, I'll show you how that works. So we're just going to basically use the same skeleton, but I'm going to delete the geometry and we'll just create a plane and we will apply a new image to that. So just quickly, I'll just attach this to the skeleton. For this to be a piece of valid geometry, this plane has to be converted into a mesh. So I'm just going to convert that into a mesh. And now we can just add a texture to it. So what I'm going to do is, I've downloaded this off the internet. It's just an avatar or something of Lara, and it's a JPEG. Okay, and I'm just going to drag this over and drop it onto the plane. I'm just going to just assign that to my scene. Now I can now export this to a different file. So I'm going to go to export, and we'll just call this test. Save that. And it's going to write it. It won't take that long. So now if we check our folder, now I have a file called test. And of course I'm just going to load the file up again, and it's going to unpack the textures from that new CHR. So we're going to go import test. Done. Okay. So now we're going to go to this folder again. We see that we have now a subfolder called test, and inside of here is our new texture. Okay. Now, what happens on the Mac script side is basically the game Tomb Raider 6 itself only supports two different types of images. That's compressed and non-compressed, basically uncompressed textures. So out of the compressed textures, it only supports .dds, direct raw surface, and only two compression schemes of DDS. That's either DXT1 or DXT3. So if you're wanting to use compressed textures because they're smaller, save your images as .dds as either DXT1 or DXT3, and then assign that to your scene, as I showed, just by dragging over that image. Okay. Now, if it's any other image type, like a .jpeg or a BMP or TGA or whatever, what my Mac script does is it just writes the image uncompressed. Okay, it's going to be larger. So I'll show that to you now. So we have that as a DDS, and this is our JPEG. So of course, I have to save it as .dds because the game supports only that image format. But this is what we call uncompressed. Okay, so this DDS is 256 kilobytes. The JPEG was 10 kilobytes. So very significant difference. But of course, that's because we're writing it uncompressed. Also, you notice that the dimensions on the JPEG were 225 by 225 pixels, and the .dds that we've saved is now 256 by 256. Again, the game requires your image to be in a divisible dimension of 4, But all this stuff is just done for you. You don't have to worry about it. The only caveat is because it's not upfront with the user, it's going to be writing uncompressed textures, which is going to increase the file size of your CHR. So if you're concerned about, sharing files to friends and the file size being too large, then obviously you want to be on top of the compression and you want to use compressed assets. So in that case, save your images as .dds, as either dxt1 or dxt5, and that will work. Okay. One other thing, I was gonna say here, but I think that's it. That's all I can really think of right now. If you have any other questions, of course, drop them below in the comments. I'll try to answer them. If you have any recommendations for improvements or additions to the Max script, also let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have fun modding.